Hi, Joe Cerrone.
And Al Rosen.
Welcome to our weekly Zoom meeting for CAD 134, Basic AutoCAD for Interior Design. Today we've released Chapter 4, Adding Tables and Raster Images to Drawings. And Al has graciously populated the main splash page with plenty of content, along with our assignments and with these bonus assignments for today. So text is what this chapter is about. And if we click on the link to chapter 4, we have a PowerPoint and we have our textbook, and then we have chapter 4 tutorial, and then we have these exercises. And the video is very good for this exercise. It's a little bit dated, but it works well. And so when we play this video, this is what I would start with, going through the video, which explains to you how these different text fonts, along with justification, work. And remember, AutoCAD is not a word processor. It kind of has multi-line text built into it for that, but we use text for a lot of things in CAD. Not really so much for writing documents, but mostly for things like bills of materials and tables. And so this exercise, this video will go through and show you how to use text, how to be able to open a text file. And so the way that we set this program up was you download, sorry about that, my Justin Bieber video. You download these different tutorials and then you can work on the files. And so as we go through and we look at it, we download this file and open it. And then we go through and we set up these different text styles. City Blueprint looks very much like handwritten text. So we use that quite a bit for this course as we go through and start setting things up. And we show how to do different types of alignment, because as you work with text, it's really used for a lot of things like making signs and being able to designate things like buttons on a product. So look at the video for the chapter 4. And then if we come back here, here's our chapter objectives. And the objectives for this chapter are fairly straightforward. We use dynamic text, that's what D means. We use DD edit, which is dynamic dialogue edit. Back years ago, I don't know why they just put DD in front of everything. And then we'll use different fonts on the drawing. And so we'll use different, they have AutoCAD fonts, they have TrueType fonts, and they have shape fonts. And then we'll look at modifiers like alignment modifiers, like align, fit, center, middle, because you may want to draw a circle and then have a piece of text right in the center of that text, of that circle. And so we'll look at a number of these objectives. We'll look at setting up text styles and properties, multi-line text, and multi-line text versus single-line text. Multi-line text is more like a word processor. Single-line text is more like a precise tool for placing text at specific locations. Here's the PowerPoint. Ta-da! Adding tables, text, and raster images to the drawings. Again, same learning objectives, same assignment. And then we go through these different text styles like standard. And you could name it whatever you wanted. You could name it Joe's font or Al's font. Standard is what they named this one, and they use the font Arial, which is a true type font. And then we're not going to use annotative text. Annotative automatically adjusts the text height based on the scaling within the viewport. And we find it's better to set up the text heights the old-fashioned way, which is in the dimension text or within the text style. So as you look at the chapter, it goes through and shows you all these different types of fonts and how to set them up and to align them with justification options like center, middle, right, top left, top center, top right, middle left. Think of it as having like a grid on each piece of text with 9 dots. Top left would be in the top left corner, top center would be in the middle of the center, and top right. So you'd have 3 dots, top, 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 top left, top center, top middle, top right, and then middle center, middle center, middle right, etc. You can also use these standard codes. So you might be like, well, how do I make a degree symbol? You can type in %D, or if we look at some of the text that we have here, and let's say that I was going to put in a piece of text. If we look at 45%D, there's a few different ways to do it. If we hit the A here, you have 2 different choices. You have multi-line text or single line text. And I tend to like single line text. So we'll start with that. If we go with single line text, and then we hit the down arrow, you have these justification options. And so if I say justify, and then I say, let's say we want to go with fit. What fit will do is it will locate the text between 2 points. And so if I want to fit the text between this point here and this point here, and then it will ask me the text height, 1/8 of an inch. And then I'll type in this text will fit between 2 points. And you notice that it kind of scales it and fits it. I hit enter twice. That's single line text. Now, if I wanted to repeat the text command, I can right click, repeat text. And if I hit enter again, it'll drop to the next line. And so I could say, this is an example of degrees. And then what I could do is type in the degree code, %D, and it turns into a degree. Or you can use symbols from the ribbon. And so as we go through and we start working with text, if I do another single line text, and I'm just going to go with justification for this one, let's try it again. Text, single line, down arrow, justify. And then if I say top center, and then I give it a center point, and we'll leave the height the same. Rotation angle, I'll talk about.
Joe, isn't this like a typewriter?
Pretty much seems like it, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
So
as you hit the enter, it drops down like you used to have the arm on the old typewriters.
I do remember that. And then if we go into the text, I guess it's only in the multi-line text that we're going to get those symbols. So let's go into multi-line text and look at that, because then the ribbon kind of wakes up. And so if I make a box for multi-line text, now the ribbon changes. And now it looks even more like a word processor. So I could say centered, and then you can use all these different symbols, okay?
And it also corrects your spelling or shows you spelling.
You can spell check it, that's correct. And then you can also come in here and add these different symbols, like a plus minus, there it is. And then we could add diameter, there it is. So as we work with the text and we work with some of these different examples, these are some of the percent codes. You don't need to memorize them anymore because it's all in the ribbon under multi-line text now. And so it does work more like a word processor in multi-line text. And people will write notes on an entire drawing where they'll put all the construction details and things like that. Remember to put text on the text layer. And then just like I think most people have experience with word processing and text, but you can spell check things. Remember, if they find words misspelled, they'll start to think that maybe there's something wrong with the drawing. You can also create these tables. And so tables are bonus in this assignment. But if you want to create a table, what you do is you go to the home page here, you go to the content section, and then you can download one of the other tutorials. And I think I'll just take the last one because I'm pretty sure that one is a table. We'll open that. It says it's a CAD version. Oh, this is a business card. So students can create their own business card. That's also bonus. And then if we come back here, back to chapter 4, let's try 3. A minute. This would be an example of a table that we could use, and then we could edit that. And as you work with text and things like that for the table, you just copy the text. And so I can come in here, I can copy this text if I need to, or I can double click within the viewport, and then it goes into the size. And I could say 6:3-1. And so, creating these door and window schedules is a fairly automated routine. And then if we needed to go back through and edit this again, we can certainly add that to it. So we've really laid this out for you so that it's somewhat intuitive. We come back to the PowerPoint presentation. We can create these tables, and it has what they call a table wizard, I guess. And so you can automate that. You can work with all these different things like the table, how many rows and columns. And then you can create the table as bonus content.
Also give you the spaces and also lengths and widths of the object of your tables.
It's a lot easier than drawing the lines and offsetting them and then putting the text in and editing it. So tables are a very common thing within these CAD drawings. And so that's what that's about. That's our PowerPoint. And then if we look at the chapter itself, the textbook chapter itself, it explains to you our number 1 assignment, and you're to do exercise 4-1. And so you just go through this line by line. You start off with this exercise 4-1. Units are architectural, drawing limits, and these are what are called setup. As you go through and you work with this, if I bring my AutoCAD back for that exercise, here it is. And remember, you can download this by going to the table of contents, tutorial 1. Download it, open it. Because Al and I already set things up for you. And you say, well, what do you mean set things up? Well, we set up the grid. So if we go to tools, drafting settings, we have our grid and our snap that are set at 1/8 of an inch and 1/4 of an inch. If we look at the curriculum for that, here's our grid at 1/4 of an inch and our snap at 1/8 of an inch. Create the following layers, annotate text, and then this area table. We come back to that. We look at that. Let's see if we have that. That part we don't have. So I guess you could add those layers in there. Yeah, we just have layer 1 and layer 2. So there's always a little something Al and I miss. But essentially, you're to go through and continue to follow this. Here's our grid display command, grid display 0. What does that mean? Well, when grid display is 0, the grid only shows up within the drawing limits. So if I type in grid, and then I choose grid display, and I change it to 1, it becomes infinite. If I change it back to 0, it becomes within the limits. It's not a big deal. It's just settings commands that we're working with as we build our proficiency. And then we go through and we make these different text styles. And so we create this text with Arial, and I've already done that one for you. So you can kind of move on to the second one, which would be to create this vertical style. And so we could create a style called vertical, and then we could create the vertical text for that. And so if I were to go and do something like that, I would come back over here and I would go to the annotate tab. Let's make this bigger. And let's make that a little bigger. And then what I would do is I would create a new text style. And so this is my text component of the ribbon. And if you hit these little sideways arrows in the corner, it'll run the text style command. And then what I can do is I can go and I can set this up to be my vertical text style. And to do that, what I have to do is pull up the right page. Here it is. And so what I'll do is I'll create a text style called vertical with Roman SHX file. And we'll set this according to the settings that they have right here. Do they tell us the text height? They tell us the center it, the location. This is kind of difficult, but all in all, when we work with text like that, if we said new and I called it vertical and I say okay. So I've already got one in there called vertical. Here's the vertical one. So you can just choose it. So if I choose vertical and I set current, and then I go and I say close it, and then I want to put some text in, I can go here and I can say single line text, and I'll click a start point. 1/4 of an inch should be fine. Rotation angle 270. And I'm not sure what they wrote on it. I'll have to kind of come in here and look at it. They call it vertical style. And so you could just say vertical style. And then hit enter twice. And there it is. You can place that with a grip by just moving it. It is kind of specific as far as the point locations. If you, Al and I aren't going to be looking at that so much. We just want to see that you can manipulate.
Try it and do it.
Correct. So it has you create these different styles, and it tells you how to do those. And so that's our assignment. You know, here's the standard style with the fit option. I showed you how I fit between 2 different points. Here's hand lettering. They probably use City Blueprint, 3/16 centered. It's all in the video. It's pretty straightforward stuff, so we don't need to go too far into it for our Zoom meeting. And it just basically gives you a good orientation for how to use text. And then the tables are a bonus. You can download those and create those tables as I showed earlier in this video. We're not going to assign the review questions. There's so many of them. Everybody who did those questions did a great job. I'll add an item into the grade book for that. So our plan is to continue to work through chapter by chapter. And we were talking this morning about what our next assignment's going to be. And so this week we'll cover chapter 4, text and tables. And then next week, we're going to go into.
We will let you know by email.
Yeah, and I think we're leaning towards our cabin project. Does that sound right, Al?
Right, but let's talk about it and making sure everything's crossed, dotted, whole 9 yards, and see how it fits in everything else.
All right, so Al manages, I do the presentations. Chapter 3 is due on the 1st, which is coming up right around the corner on Friday. And then chapter 4, this assignment is due next week from that. And then we'll continue on sequentially. All right, what else, Al?
That's about all right now. If you go down a little further,
Oh, there is one other project in here. I did want to, this one, the lighting legend.
right.
So there are 2 projects in here, I'm sorry. One is that first project, which has the text centered and vertical and fit and all those options. And then the second chapter assignment is to do this basic lighting legend. I like it because we're going to use this for some of the future projects. And so you can draw this fan, 42-inch fan with the light, create the settings. And I do believe that if you go to that page in the book, no, they don't. You have to use a scale to measure these, I think. Yes. So when they put down scale 1/4 of an inch equals a foot, make sure you get one of these from Amazon.
They're not expensive, by the way.
Get yourself an architectural scale. I have this one right here. I love Amazon. It's a golden time we live in. And what you want to be able to do is to be able to learn how to measure a drawing.
And please get the architectural one.
Correct. You need the architectural scale, imperial units, not metric. And so this one right here is fine for $6. And then what you do is you will measure anything. And there's really not too much in the measurements here, to tell you the truth. This is just a 6-foot square. And so let's take a look at that assignment. Here it is right here.
Hardest thing is the paddles of the fan.
And so if we look at this assignment, I'm going to manage my multi-displays here. Come back to my original. Make this a little bigger.
Thank you.
And then we'll just go through and continue to follow the instructions for this. And so the next thing is going to be this 6 foot. And it looks like if this is 4 feet, this is probably 2 feet. And so I'm not going to go without the ruler right now, but we'll make it 6 foot by 2 foot. And so we can just go to draw the symbol. And so we can go here, track it out, 6 foot, enter. Track it north with polar on 2 feet. Oops, undo that. Make sure it's straight. Tracking north 2 feet. And let's undo that. Let's go with 6 inches.
Joe,
Yeah,
why don't you put the orthographic on for right now?
good idea. Ortho. And then it doesn't do that. And then we come back this way, 6 feet. L has all the best tricks. And so we'll create that geometry. It looks like they're all kind of centered to the left side or aligned on the left. And so I'm just going to move it. And I'll move it up slightly. With ortho on, that works really well. And then we'll put the text for that. It's easier to copy text than to edit it than it is to create it new. And so oftentimes Al and I will do that. We'll just copy it. So we'll just say copy from here to here. Oops. I have to move.
We hit move instead.
And then we'll just edit that. Okay, this double click on it. This is called DD Edit, Dynamic Dialogue Editing. And then we'll come in here with this text. And we'll say 6 feet dash 0 inches. A big vanity fixture. Green check mark. And then there's just a couple more symbols to create. Very straightforward. All right. So the two assignments that you will do, that you will work on, are project 4-1, and then I thought that was 4-1. I guess it's an exercise 4-1. And then the window schedules and door schedules are bonus. And then Al and I are talking, the next project will probably be fairly large, where we have a couple of nice floor plans that we want to start to work with to get to start to tie everything together. All right, Al, I think I have covered things. Let's see if there's any more. So if we go back to the textbook, that was our second project. You're to use a scale to measure these at 1/4 of an inch equals a foot, and then create the documents for it.
Go to the splash page, please, Joe.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go to that one right there, it says AutoCAD for interior design, space planning, and questions and answers right below it. The project list. These have the questions, and then if you go down lower, you will find projects down below.
And we won't assign the questions this week, although you're welcome to do them as bonus.
There it is. That's the main one. You can see right there. It's a little bit easier for you to read. Go down a little bit more. These are tables if you want to. So to get an idea how tables can be used in your own drawings.
And as we go through and we start to work on the projects within the textbook, the book has a lot of really great projects. And so we'll start to tie things together where we can put furniture in, assign attributes to it, and generate bills of material. All right, Al, what else?
I think that's it for this portion of it.
So we'll end the Zoom, we'll end the recording, and then we'll keep the Zoom session open for anybody who might have any questions. All right, I'm going to stop the recording. This is our weekly Zoom classroom meeting with this week's assignment.